trust we had a wonderful night. So my name is Hanniel H. Jafaru. So I'll be letting us, I'll be passing us through this concept of cyber domain and how we can integrate it into our operational warfare. We've been talking about cyber domain, cyber domain, cyber domain. How do we integrate cyber domain as a concept or as a domain into operational warfare? So, cyber intelligence is subdomain. So quickly, this is myself, Young, as you know. Without wasting much time, let me just start because there's no time. All right. Yesterday most of the presenters gave us good definition and a broad definition of the concept of cyberspace. So I would not waste much time there. I'll just tell us that yes, it is the interconnectivity of digital technologies, putting them in one place or in an environment that is considered to be the cyber domain. So, but most persons have always aligned cyber intelligence with cyber threat intelligence. So let's try to see how we can separate both of them, because while they may probably look similar, they have a very huge distinction. So the first thing is this. Now, the difference between cyber intelligence and cyber threat intelligence is the word threat there. And threat generally talks about when something has the potential of causing harm or causing damage. So if you're taking away, if cyber threat intelligence is focused on something that has threat or something that can damage your systems or damage your infrastructures, cyber intelligence is really not focused on only that alone, because it's broader compared to cyber threat intelligence. So the major that's one of the major differences. Then cyber threat intelligence focuses on the threat actors. They focus on the methodology. They focus on the activities of the threat actors, focus on what they do, how they do it. But cyber intelligence focuses on everybody. As long as you have an electronic device, there is a threat. There is an intelligence that can be gotten from you. As long as you have a system, there's an intelligence that can be gotten from you. As long as you have a persona, be it a cyber persona or a physical persona, there is an intelligence that can be gotten from you. And it really you must not be a threat to the nation before that intelligence can be gotten about you. Because let's talk about when somebody holds a gun. Yes, it is a threat. But is it a threat to the nation? Yes. Directly, it is considered to be among the national security threats. But when somebody probably is operating on drugs in the cyber domain, example in the dark web, does it have a direct effect to national security? No. Indirectly, yes. You get, because it does not, that drug it's affecting the person on the large scale, but when you're bringing it to the context of threat, as it is, because there is no harm, there is no, let's say, it will not cause direct damage to the country. But notwithstanding, that's one. The second one is cyber threat intelligence operates largely in the cyberspace. Cyber threat intelligence, it operates largely in the cyberspace. All the intelligence you want to get, as long as cyber threat intelligence is concerned about the actors, they are largely in the cyberspace. But for cyber intelligence, it goes beyond the cyberspace. Then cyber threat intelligence connects attack to physical and logical layers. You know, the cyberspace are divided into three different layers. We have the physical layer, which has to do with the geocoordinates. It has to do with your physical cabling. That's the physical layer. Then the logical layer has to do with your IP address, your endpoints, your systems, and your infrastructure. But there is a third layer called the social layer, and that has to do with your personnel, your cyber personnel, and your physical self. You get, because most persons can be. For every attack to happen, the three things must happen for every attack to happen. The first thing is that there must be a person that is operating it. The second thing is that the person must have a personnel on the cyberspace that he's using to operate it. And the third thing is what you're doing, which is generally the system you're using to carry out, which falls under the logical layer and physical layer. So quickly, I don't want to spend much time. Now, with that broad foundation, what is cyber intelligence? Cyber intelligence first is all about the findings. It is the finding, it is the collection, it is the storage, it is the analysis, and it is the reaction to data and information that is gathered from the cyberspace. Cyber intelligence is beyond open source intelligence. Cyber intelligence is beyond open source intelligence. And I'll be explaining why it is beyond open source intelligence, because open source intelligence focuses strictly on information or data that are available and accessible. How about when you have data that are available but not accessible? I don't know if you're getting me. Please, are you following, please? All right, good. So I designed this framework, cyber intelligence framework. I call them the 5DAs. What comprises, this is where the startups, this is where we begin to align ourselves with. This is how we begin to align ourselves with, even as professionals, big data analysts, cybersecurity analysts, and every form of analyst. This is where we align ourselves with for us to be relevant. The first thing is what's called data availability. The data availability focuses strictly on the concept of, is certain data that is being required or that we're looking for, is it available in the cyberspace? If it is not available, how do we bring it to the cyberspace? This is the concept that brings about mandating that everybody has namesake. Because if you want to leave it, some persons would not want to go and register their namesake. But data availability ensures that data, even though it is not available in the cyberspace, you would have to ensure the government will mandate you to go and do what? Go and register. And once you register, the data becomes available in the cyberspace. But then beyond availability, there is data accessibility. Because I've mentioned that there are data that are available, but they are not accessible, because open source deals with available and accessibility of data. So how do you assess data that have been considered to be available? You assess data that have been considered to be available via data mining. You assess data that will be available via data feeds, and you assess data that are available via partnering with organizations, like looking at this from the military now, military partnering with, because take note, we're talking about cyber warfare. Military partnering with namesake to ensure that if they need intelligence on certain persons, namesake can make that data available. So partnership is also one of it. Then cyber monitoring. Why data mining focuses on extracting data that are already there, cyber monitoring focuses on it's more of like a foundational level that looks for data that wants to get there. I don't know if you're getting me. Data mining, it extracts data that are in the cyberspace. It extracts them out. It looks for it wherever it is on the cyberspace and brings it out. But cyber monitoring does not look for it. It goes and sits at the door and wait for it to come. So as it is coming, it is getting that data. So those are two ways. Then we'll talk about the partnership and big data. Then the third A, which is data artifact. Once the data is available, the data is accessible, the next thing is what's called collection and storage, which you now capture the data and you put the data in a particular place for the next phase, which is data analysis. I don't know if you're getting me. So the next phase is data analysis. And who analyzes? Human analysis and what's it called? Human intelligence and artificial intelligence. You use them to carry out data analysis. And the last and final phase is the data action. Because now you've been able to know that certain data is available, you've been able to know that it is accessible, it's not just available, but I'm accessing this data. Then you're now able to know that, okay, this data, I have been able to store it as an artifact. Then now I've analyzed this data to what? To enable me to take action. The end point is action. Because of what essence would you be able to gather whatsoever intelligence you want to gather and you're not taking action? It can be a preventive action or it can be a corrective action. Preventive action is probably it has not happened and you want to prevent it. Corrective action is it has happened and you want to correct it and prevent it from repeating itself. So now once this, take note now, this is like an oval kind of life cycle. Once you have been able to take action, that data, that action that you've taken becomes a data, and it goes to become what? Data availability again. And that is how it continues to rotate, and you get more data in the cyberspace. So this is cyber intelligence framework that I personally developed. All right, now, how do you get this intelligence we're talking about? How do you gather them? Because it's not all about getting intelligence. You need to know, where do you get this intelligence from? The first place you get this intelligence from is what we know as the open source domain. This is where OSINT truly and really functions at. Data that are available and accessible. But how do you find data that are available and not accessible? You get them on the deep web, You get it on the deep web and non-web. Now, the deep web means the data is available on the web and it is not accessible. But there are strategic ways you can use to make that data that is available and not accessible. There are ways you can do it via partnership and alliance to make unaccessible data to become accessible. So deep web and non-web. Now, example of non-web are data that are not in the web. Example is this: databases that are not on the web. We have databases of Nigerians with NIMC here. We have databases of Nigerians with NCC for our SIM registry. They are not on the web. But yes, you can actually look for it. You can actually partner via alliance to be able to extract some of these data. Then the third one is via the dark web. The dark web domain is also, it's an entire domain. The dark web runs on the Tornet, and the Tornet runs on the internet. The Tornet, the internet is the foundational level. You know, most persons assume that web services, web services are the only thing that the internet offers. No. Another service that the internet offers is the Tornet. And the Tornet is a network that is running on a network called the internet. But the Tornet is what now holds another domain called the dark web. The dark web, it is called dark because of the darkened kind of activities that happen there. And most of us, it's not alien to most of us. But this guy, the owner of the founder of Silk Road 2.0, how many of us know of Silk Road 2.0? Good. The founder of Silk Road 2.0, Aldrich, the guy was arrested. Silk Road 2.0 was shut down. None of these intelligence, be it open source, be it deep web, matters, because all the intelligence they needed to get, they did not get it from these two, from open source or deep web. They gathered their intelligence from where? From the dark web. We have to we have to build a nation that don't just operate the internet, but also they engage the internet. Personnel of DEA, that's the Drug Enforcement Agency, they had to become users of the dark web. They had to buy products. They had to order for drugs, about 10 different orders. And these drugs came from 10 different countries. Personnel of DEA, just to ensure that they are part and parcel of what is happening in the dark web. And it was with that intelligence that they were able to get who owns dark web, how it operates, and the likes. Because we need to have cyber intelligence officers who don't just operate in the regular web domain, but also operate. In fact, they will sleep and wake up from the dark web domain. That is where they are. That is where their life is. Then we have endpoint domain. This is where the last speaker just mentioned, where digital forensics comes to play, because there is a level of intelligence you can get from digital forensics. Endpoint has to do with the computers itself. It's a domain where you get intelligence from the systems, the laptops, the desktops, and all the servers and network and everything. The endpoint domain. Then the last one is threat intelligence. Now, threat intelligence is what focuses on the threat actors themselves. The intelligence you can get about the threat actors, what they do, how they operate, where they are, not where they are anyway, but how they do, how they work, where they operate, and the likes. So these environments or domains for cyber intelligence. Now, wrapping up with integrating cyber domains to warfare. In 2008, we had NATO and the U.S. Department of Defense, they came together to agree, okay, yes, cyber domain is agreed now that it is a dimension of warfare. Cyber domain has been agreed as a dimension of warfare. But there was no clear definition of how this cyber domain will be integrated to become a dimension of warfare. So in 2011, Dr. Glenn Alexander of the U.S. Department of Defense went through research, and this was what he brought out as his conclusion for the integration of cyber domain into the military warfare. So let's quickly go through it. The first one he mentioned, he said cyber domain as a domain should have subdomains, and those subdomains include cyber operations, cyber information, cyber crime, and cyber intelligence. Cyber operations focuses on was further divided into three different angles, and it says there is the special operations. The special operations are those that engage in cyber attacks, and that is where the computer network attacks comes from. The computer network attacks. Then cyber conventional operations are those that focuses on the cyber defense. These are personnel that would engage in defending the infrastructures of the military, the infrastructures of every military asset. Then the IT management, they really don't concern themselves with security. They just ensure that they have the infrastructure is available for the military to make use of. So they do the management of the infrastructure. Then the next subdomain is cyber information. Cyber information is those that are engaged in information warfare. Those that engage in information warfare. All right, those that engage in information warfare. And largely, Nigerians, the Nigerian military has not been able to effectively have an information warfare unit, and evidence was what happened in the NSAS protest. It is the NSAS protest. It is the information warfare unit that should have been able to objectively and strategically attack the concept of that NSAS as it was spreading and going via the internet. In fact, the U.S. 2016 general election, that most persons say that there was interference. That's the Russia interfering with the U.S. election. What actually happened? What the Russians did was that they attacked the DNC servers. After attacking the DNC servers, they made available those information on the internet. But before then, what have they done? They created over 2,000 social media accounts, and they used those accounts to carry out what is called information warfare, thereby putting out information that were for Trump and against Hillary Clinton. And most persons, voters now, influencing the voters, which is a form of propaganda, influencing the voters to take decisions to vote for Trump as against Hillary Clinton. And that was information warfare. So information warfare is critical to information warfare unit, which is the cyber information unit, is critical to ensuring that we have a comprehensive cyber domain. Then the next one is cyber crime. Cyber crime, most like the police, they have a cyber crime unit, the EFCC, they have a cyber crime unit, but their angle of cyber crime largely focuses on investigation and prosecution. Cybercrime, there are four domains under cybercrime. There is the prevention. If you can't prevent, ensure you detect. If you can't detect, then that's when investigation comes to play. And after investigation, prosecution. The military now will focus on the first two, detection and prevention. Why you allow the others to do the investigation and prosecution. So cybercrime units, even though most persons, there's been an argument if cybercrime unit should be within the cyber domain. Yes, it should be, because the cybercrime unit it has four different subdomains, and we can just divide the military to take the first two, and the police and the likes to take the remaining two for investigation and prosecution, especially when it has to do with civilian cases. Then the last one is what I've just mentioned, which is called cyber intelligence. And truth be told, Intelligence is the support. That in his report, intelligence is the support system for every other domain, every other subdomain that you see here. Intelligence sits at the foundation and gives intelligence to operations, to be the special operations or conventional operations. It is intelligence that they need to use to carry out whatsoever thing they want to carry out. Information warfare, it is intelligence that they need to engage in information warfare. Even the cybercrime detection and prevention, it is intelligence that they will still use to carry out whatsoever thing they want to carry out. So the Nigerian military has a cyber warfare, the cyber warfare command. It has that, but the warfare command does not comprehensively capture all this. Largely, the warfare command focuses on the cyber operation. We don't have information warfare units. We don't have cyber intelligence units. And maybe, I'm not so sure, but for the cybercrime, I'm not so sure if we do or not. But I know fully well that the police and some other sub-agencies have cybercrime units. So, in conclusion, it is very important for us to be able to integrate these 4 units into our cyber domain, because this is what clearly tells us how we can remain secured as a country, not even from internal forces, not only from internal forces, but also from external actors. Take note that you are not secured until you are secured. Thank you.